Hello everybody, this is City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I am so excited to be following along with a hop that is called May the 4th Be With You. And the theme for this hop is anything that has to do with Star Wars or stars or outer space or galaxy, and I decided to go with the galaxy theme. So for this layout, I'm going to be using some papers from Fern Studios, and the collection is called Lucky Star. As you could see, I fussy cut out a very large archway that I'm going to be using at the top of this piece of paper right here. This is going to be my background. I'm just cutting off the part that the archway is going to cover in case I wanted to use any part of that pattern paper on my layout. I ended up just using one butterfly, but you never know when you might need a little piece of paper, so I like to conserve it as much as possible. So now I'm attaching down this pattern paper, and I'm going to be putting some fun foam on this arch, and I'm going to be popping that up a little bit. And I just like the way that that little bit of dimension makes such a big impact on the layout. So this blue paper that I have already attached down, that's going to serve as the night sky, and the moon layered on top. I feel like that'll be perfect for the photo that I'm going to be using. Here I'm using large pieces of the fun foam and also some little pieces just to try to cover the whole back of that piece of pattern paper. And I decided to put the ATG adhesive mainly on the piece of paper I'm going to be mounting the arch to. And I did put a little bit of adhesive on the foam itself because I forgot to put adhesive down where the moon was on the background. So now I'm turning my paper upside down, and that is so that I can try to line up the archway as perfectly as I can on top of the pattern paper. And I did have to peel it back up again and put it back down, but I think I got it lined up just right. And I've been doing this a lot lately. I forgot to ink the edges of the pattern paper before attaching the two papers together, but it turned out to be fine. I was just able to use my dauber and peel up some of the background. It was in place though, so it went right back down again because the rest of the paper was already in the right spot. And I used some Distress Oxide in Blueprint Sketch. This photo is of my two daughters, and this was taken in a studio in Salem, Massachusetts called Witch Pix, and they had a lot of fun taking these pictures, and this was my favorite one from the shoot, so I thought this would be perfect to go with the galaxy theme. I purchased this collection thinking I would probably use it for these types of photos. I purchased some pattern papers, I got the journaling cards, and I also got the die cuts. And I find with these Fern Studios collections, they usually have one sheet of paper that you can fussy cut a lot of images from. So I took a look at it and I picked out a couple of images and I cut them out. I also cut out some images from a journaling card. And the piece that I'm working with here, this window, this is a die cut, and I'm just fussy cutting off the border. So between the die cuts and the images that were fussy cut from the journaling cards and from the pattern papers, I have a nice little pile here, and I am inking the edges of all of these pieces with some Distress Oxide, again, that Blueprint Sketch. The die cuts didn't really take the ink so well. They were made of a shiny paper, almost seemed like a little bit laminated, and the ink didn't really stick on those, but they worked just fine on all the other papers. So now I am all done fussy cutting and inking, and it's time to arrange all of these elements on the page. I knew the flowers would fit just perfectly in that lower right-hand corner, and I thought that sun looked kind of cute, kind of sitting among the flowers. And I'm going to be using that die cut that says Fantastique as the title. I thought it would be nice to have some flowers on either side of the moon. There were the flowers that were already part of the pattern paper, and then I thought adding some on the other side would make it look balanced. Now I'm cutting out that butterfly that I had cut out from the background sheet of paper, and I'm just fussy cutting that out. And I am going to be popping some butterflies up all over the background. I just love butterflies, and although I wouldn't have guessed that they would go with this particular theme. I just love the way that they look. So I am so happy they were included in the collection. Now that I'm happy with where I placed the die cuts, I took a picture with my phone just so that I'd be able to put them back where I had them. And now I'm covering up all of the pattern papers that I do not want white splatters to get on. Normally, I just include white splatters as kind of a decorative element, but for this layout, the white splatters are going to serve as the stars in the galaxy, so I do not want to get them anywhere but on the background. So I'm using some watered down white acrylic paint and just splattering those all around the background, and I'm really shocked that I did not get any paint anywhere else. Although I did get a little on my coffee table, but I cleaned that up pretty easily. Now I am just dotting down in a few little places some of the white acrylic paint, just so that the white paint goes all the way up to the edges. Now I'm going to be mounting my photo. I first used some purple, and yay, I remembered to put the Distress Oxide on the edge before I attach it down to the next sheet of paper. And I like that light blue as well. I think that'll look nice against the dark blue in the background. And you can see I'm inking that as well. And then I didn't feel that the title stood out enough, so I'm mounting that on that light blue paper, and I'm just going to create a little tiny border by fussy cutting around the outside. And this always makes me nervous because you have to stay the same distance from the edge the whole way around. And I made a few little mistakes, but in the end, it didn't come out perfect, but it looks just fine. So now that there's pattern paper around the die cut, the pattern paper does take the ink. So now I'm going to pull up that photo on my phone so that I could refer to it and remind myself where I had all of those different elements that were in the background. My plan is to pop up some of the elements on the background. I want to have something in each cluster that's popped up. I'm also going to pop up my photo, and this is all on some fun foam, which really doesn't add a huge amount of dimension. It's not really that thick, but I think it adds just enough to make the layout look interesting. So I popped up my photo, and the title is also popped up on some foam. So I'm going to tuck that little owl behind the title, and also I'm placing the window right behind the owl. In the lower right hand corner, I can't really pop up those flowers because the archway on the right is popped up, so I attach those flat down to the page and I just tuck the sun right behind them. And I'm also going to be attaching that little clock or that little watch right down to the layout as well. And I want to make sure that I have it just the right distance from the photo, and I'm putting another little cluster of flowers behind the flowers that are on that watch. And now I'm attaching down the photo. It was kind of floating around the layout, and I figured I better just get that attached down. So now I am popping up that butterfly on some foam, and I decided to move those flowers over to the left-hand side of the window. And I'm just going to use the ATG adhesive to attach down all of this cluster as well. And I just love the ATG adhesive because normally I can just peel things right back up again if I'm not so happy with where they are, especially with these blue Fern Studios papers. They have a nice smooth finish and things are easy to kind of rearrange. I had a couple of little butterflies that I had fussy cut out from the papers along the way, so I'm just trying to find little places for them. I'm going to be putting two of the butterflies on the title. And I'm popping up the butterflies on the title that's already popped up, so now I have a little bit more dimension than I had before. And you can see that I have a butterfly in each of these clusters. So I'm just cutting little teeny tiny pieces of foam to fit behind them. Now I'm adding photo corners, which I just love to add. I'm using this journaling card that I had already fussy cut some items from, and I'm just trying to find spots on it that are turquoise. I thought turquoise would be a good color choice because it stands out on top of the purple and that light blue. And I also wanted to get a little bit more turquoise on the layout. There's some in that clock and or the watch, and there's some in the butterfly on the lower right hand side, but I just wanted to add a little bit more just to balance out the layout. So now, to make sure that I have enough of that galaxy theme, I wanted to add some stars, and these are some Jolee's stars. I had these in with my Christmas stash, but I was thinking these would be just perfect for this layout. So they are in two different sizes. I use a couple of the larger ones and a few more of the smaller ones, and I'm just kind of sprinkling them around on the layout, just trying to get them balanced. And I want to have a decent amount, but I don't want to overdo it either. I usually like to add some kind of a pearl or a jewel to the photo corners. For this layout, I'm using some gold jewels to kind of go with the gold jewels in the centers of the stars. So I put one of those on each corner. And then there were some really, really teeny tiny jewels in the same color, and I'm just sprinkling those around just to add a little bit more sparkle to the background. So these jewels were a gift from my husband, but I'm not supposed to get them until Mother's Day, but this was a scrapbooking emergency. I really needed these jewels, so I snuck a small pack of them. My husband watches my video, so I guess he'll know. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. Please check in the description box for links to all the other scrapbookers who are following along with this challenge. And I hope that everybody has a fantastic day, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.